Chapter 28. Achaz was 20 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. And he did not that which was right in the eyes of the Lord, like David his father, but he walked in the ways of the kings of Israel, made also molten images for the Baalim. Moreover, he offered in the valley of the son of Hinnom, and burnt his children in the fire, according to the abominations of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out before the children of Israel. And he sacrificed and offered in the high places, and on the hills, and under every leafy tree. Wherefore the Lord his God delivered him into the hand of the king of Edom. And they smote him, and carried away of his a great multitude of captives, and brought them to Damascus. And he was also delivered into the hand of the king of Israel, who smote him with a great slaughter. For Pekah, the son of Ramaliah, slew in Judah 120,000 in one day, and all of them valiant men, because they had forsaken the Lord, the God of their fathers. And Zechri, a mighty man of Ephraim, slew Maaseiah, the king's son, and Asrikam, the ruler of the house, and Elkanah, that was next to the king. And the children of Israel carried away captive of their brethren 200,000 women, sons, and daughters, and took also away much spoil from them, and brought the spoil to Samaria. But a prophet of the Lord was there, whose name was Obed, and he went out to meet the host that came to Samaria, and said unto them, Behold, because the Lord, the God of your fathers, was wroth with Judah, he has delivered them into your hand, and you have slain them in a rage which has reached up unto heaven. And now you purpose to bring the children of Judah and Jerusalem into subjection for bondmen and bondwomen unto you. But are there not even with you acts of guilt of your own against the Lord your God? Now hear me, therefore, and send back the captives that you have taken captive of your brethren, for the fierce wrath of the Lord is upon you. Then certain of the heads of the children of Ephraim, Atzariah the son of Jehochanan, Berechiah the son of Meshillemoth, and Yehizkiah the son of Shallum, and Amasa the son of Hadlai, stood up against them that came from the war, and said unto them, You shall not bring in the captives here, for you purpose that which will bring upon us guilt against the Lord, to add unto our sins and to our guilt, for our guilt is great, and there is fierce wrath against Israel. So the armed men left the captives, the spoil, before the princes and all the congregation, and the men that have been mentioned by name rose up, and took the captives, and with the spoil clothed all that were naked among them, and arrayed them, and shod them, and gave them to eat and to drink, and anointed them, and carried all the feeble of them upon asses, and brought them to Jericho, the city of palm trees, unto their brethren. Then they returned to Samaria. At that time did King Achaz send unto the kings of Assyria to help him, for again the Edomites had come and smitten Judah and carried away captives. The Philistines also had invaded the cities of the lowland and of the south of Judah, and had taken Bethshemesh and Ajalon and Gederoth and Shokol with the towns thereof, and Timnah with the towns thereof, Gimzo also and the towns thereof, and they dwelt there. For the Lord brought Judah low because of Achaz, king of Israel, for he had cast away restraint in Judah, and acted treacherously against the Lord. And Tilgath-Pilneser, king of Assyria, came unto him, and distressed him, but strengthened him not. For Achaz stripped the house of the Lord, and the house of the king, and the princes, and gave thereof unto the king of Assyria. But it helped him not. And in the time of his distress did he act even more treacherously against the Lord, the same King Achaz. For he sacrificed unto the gods of Damascus, which smote him. And he said, Because the gods of the kings of Edom helped them, therefore will I sacrifice to them, that they may help me. But they were the ruin of him and all of Israel. And Achaz gathered together the vessels of the house of God, and cut in pieces the vessels of the house of God, and shut up the doors of the house of the Lord. And he made him altars in every corner of Jerusalem, and in every city in Judah he made high places to offer unto other gods, and provoked the Lord, the God of his fathers. Now the rest of the acts and all his ways, first and last, behold, they are written in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel. And Achaz slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city, even in Jerusalem. For they brought him not into the sepulchres of the kings of Israel. And Hezekiah his son reigned in his stead. All right, we're going to go up to the first verse. And keep in mind now, Jotham. We had read about Jotham yesterday in the last chapter. Jotham was the God is finished, God is done, God is going to complete, God is going to accomplish, God is perfect. When he began his reign, God made an example, and we'll find out that Jotham, he slept with his fathers, and Achaz, the one God has seized, or got the seized. Achaz means to be seized or grasped, taken hold of. Will be the king now, and we're going to pick it up here in verse 1. Achaz was 20 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 16 years in Jerusalem. And he did not that which was right in the eyes of the Lord, like David his father. And Achaz, the seized, this one whom we remember God is going to seize and God is taking hold of. God's going to make an example here. He was 20 years old when he began to reign, 20, because we'll be able to witness the law and the greater understanding, even the law of old. From when he begins to reign, he will reign 16 years in Jerusalem. 16 again. 16 years will be his reign. And that's the law working in men and the greater understandings of Jerusalem. That's that place of peaceful teachings. That place we'll find out that God has been making an example of for many years. Achaz ain't going to do according to the law of God. He's not going to follow after David, his father. David is the beloved, the chosen one of God, the one God pulled out of all the nations to make an example of, and he's going to use David as he has. David is the servant of God, too. But he walked in the ways of the kings of Israel, and he made also molten images for the Baalim. But he walked in the ways of the kings of Israel. He was the king of Judah, Achaz was, and we'll find out he didn't do like some of the others had done before him, but he walked like the kings of Israel, like those that contend with the mighty one. And God was punishing them greatly over there, and they'd set images up over them and had their not of gods all through the country. And that's what it's saying. He walked like them. He did after the kings of Israel. And those were the Molechs of those that contend with the mighty one. And he made these molten images. He made these images that men make, and these formed out of their understandings of the Baalim or the Baalim. And the Baalim are these Lord images, even as many as there was, a multitude probably of them. These that they would make to lord over the people. 3. Moreover, he offered in the valley of the son of Hinnom, and burnt his children in the fire, according to the abominations of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out before the children of Israel. Moreover, as well as this, if that wasn't enough, he offered in the valley of the son of Hinnom, and the valley, that's that low place down, and that the lower place is always going to be. It's a crack, it's a crevice they fall into, they can't get out of. It's flesh. And he was that valley where the son of Hinnom, or the one that come forth from Lamentations. Hinnom means Lamentations. It's a place of crying and weeping. Why? That's where they used to burn their children, and they would make sacrifice unto their Malcolms and their Molechs and their Baalims. And he burned his children there in the fire. He caused his children to pass through the fire, even the judgments. See, and that's what that would be. It is according to the abominations of the heathen. This with the heathen done, or these other nations. These are all the nations besides the Hebrews, the these ones that God had brought out of this understanding by a mighty hand already. And he sacrificed and offered in the high places and all the hills and under every leafy tree. And he would sacrifice and offer in all the high places, and all these rituals they would do there in all their high places, these places they make for their own self to worship, and under every leafy tree, every pleasant place, on every high hill, and wherever they can get to the height that they can be seen the most. See, that's the way it's been forever. 5. Wherefore the Lord his God delivered him into the hand of the king of Edom. And they smote him, and carried away of his a great multitude of captives, and brought them to Damascus. And he was also delivered into the hand of the king of Israel, who smote him with a great slaughter. And that's why, because of all this sin that they was doing, all these idols that they had, all these understandings of men that was going through the land, God warned them. God had already warned them, told them to keep the law for their own good. And that's why God delivered them into the hand of the king of Edom. Edom are these exalted ones. These are the ones that are exalted from before. That's what they represent, these of nobility from the time before. And they smote him and carried away of his a great multitude of captives. And they took captive and carried away these. They would use them for slaves, and they brought them to Damascus. Damascus is that place where the sackcloth weaver's working silently. See, he's working there, and what he's doing, he's weaving those garments of lamentation, those garments of mourning. And he also delivered into the hand of the works of the king of Israel. And that's those that contend with the mighty one, who smote them with a great slaughter. And we'll find out that it was, verse 6, for Pekah, the son of Remaliah, slew in Judah 120,000 in one day. All them valiant men, because they had forsaken the Lord, the God of their fathers. And Pekah, we remember Pekah, this one that opens. He opens, even the eyes. He was the one that come forth from Remaliah. And that was the adorned of God. The adorned, and that adorned like somebody would put a jewel upon you, or somebody would show favoritism unto you, is more like what it probably means. This one who is favored of God. And he slew in Judah, that place of praisings, 120,000 in one day. And that 100, because see, it's judgment, and 20, we can witness the law. That's redemption in its fulfillment, even in the beginning of the understandings of it. All of them were valiant men. They had forsaken God, and God was showing you. God can punish. See, when they turn from the Lord punishes. It's automatic. 7. And Zechri, a mighty man of Ephraim, slew Maaseiah, the king's son, and Azrikam, the ruler of the house, and Elkanah, that was next to the king. And Zechri, that is those that are remembered, those that call to memory. He was a mighty man of Ephraim, and Ephraim are those that are fruitful, the double-fruited. I call them the double-fruited. And they slew Maaseiah, who was the king's son. Maaseiah is that work of God. He was the king's son, or that which one come forth from the king. And Azrikam was the ruler of the house. Azrikam is that was helped against those that stood up. See, Azrikam means he helps against those that stood up. He was the ruler of the house, or was one that was over the abode. And Elkanah was next to the king. Elkanah was the mighty one has acquired. The mighty one has acquired. And we'll find out what he's acquired. 8. And the children of Israel carried away captive of their brethren 200,000 women, sons, and daughters, and took also away much spoil for them, and brought the spoil to Samaria. And the children of Israel, the ones of those that contend with the mighty one, carries away the captive of their brothers. All these that were captive, taken away captive of their brethren, those that had the like understanding, come from the same mother. See, they was born of the same mother in the beginning. They had one father. These 200,000, and witness now this judgment. It's the fulfillment. These women, these ones that come forth from man, these sons and daughters, these ones that go forth, and are supposed to have the understanding of their father, and these ones that go forth from their mother with the understanding of their father, and took also away much spoil from them, and they brought that spoil to Samaria. Samaria is that place of dregs. It was purchased from Shemer. 9. But a prophet of the Lord was there, whose name was Obed, and he went out to meet the host that came to Samaria, and said unto them, Behold, because the Lord the God of your fathers was wroth with Judah, he hath delivered them into your hand, and you have slain them in a rage which hath reached up unto heaven. When they got to Samaria, there was a prophet there, and his name is Obed. Obed means servant. Obed means a servant. He's the one that serves. He works for God. And he went out to meet the host, all these that were come, back to Samaria, that place of dregs. And he said unto them, Behold, because the Lord the God of your fathers was wroth, he was angry with Judah, that's those of praisings, he hath delivered them into your hand, and you have slain them in a rage which has reached up unto heaven. That means God has taken notice. It's reached unto the understanding even. It was a horrible slaughter, the multitude. And now you purpose to bring, verse 10, the children of Judah and Jerusalem into subjection for bondmen and bondwomen unto you. But are there not even with you acts of guilt for your own against the Lord your God? And they purposed to bring these children of Judah. That's what the captives were for. All these that were taken from praising and from that city of peaceful teachings, to bring them into subjection for bondmen and bondwomen. These are to be used, to be worked, see, and used to be worked. But there are acts of guilt of your own against the Lord, see, and that's what matters, see, because this is why God, and if God's punishing them, no, God will surely punish you. 11, now hear me, therefore, and send back the captives that you have taken captive of your brethren, for the fierce wrath of the Lord is upon you. Now hear, and send these captives back, these ones that was taken, see, of praisings and of the city of peaceful teachings, whom have been taken captive, your brethren, those of from the same mother, they have a like understanding. For the fierce wrath of God is upon you, and we'll find out it was God. God's wrath was upon both. 12. Then certain of the heads of children of Ephraim, Azariah, the son of Jehochanan, Berechiah, the son of Meshilemot, and Yehizkiah, the son of Shallum, and Amasa, the son of Hadlai, stood up against them that came from the war. And these would be certain of the heads, just some of them, whomever the Lord moved, these ones of understanding that was over the children of Ephraim, those of the double-fruited, the fruitful. Azariah, that's the supported of God. He was the son of the one that come forth from Jehochanan, and that's God's mercy, God's pity. And Berechiah is blessed of God. Remember, Barak, the valley of Barakah, or the valley. This Barakah, that is the blessed. And these are the blessed of God. They come forth from Meshilemot. And Meshilemot is the covenant of peace. That's that covenant of peace that God gave even in the beginning. That's the law. In Yehizkiah, and that's the same as Hezekiah or Hitzkiah. He is strengthened of God. This one is strengthened of God. He is the son of Shallum, and the son, this one that come forth from Shallum, and that's that reward. See, that's that reward, the just reward even. And Amasa, he's the son of Hadlai. Amasa is this burden. That's that load to be carried. See, and that is what the mighty one had acquired, was that load to be carried. He had taken on this burden even. He was the son of Hadlai, and that's those of the end. And they stood up against them that came from the war. 13. And he said unto them, You shall not bring in the captives here, for you purpose that which will bring upon us guilt against the Lord, to add unto our sins and to our guilt. For our guilt is great, And there's fierce wrath against Israel. And these ones that had stood up against them, we'll find out, these ones we just mentioned, said, you ain't bringing the captives in here. You ain't bringing the captives in this place. For your purpose, that which you will bring them in, it will bring guilt from God upon us. See, and our sins and our guilt, that which we already under this. And we'll find out God was over Israel with a mighty hand, causing them to go greatly astray from God. Wrath was against Israel. And that's all those that contend with the mighty one. 14. So the armed men left the captives and the spoil before the princes and all the congregation. So all these soldiers, all these ones that was armed, these men that had all the weapons, they leave. They just left the captives there and the spoil and before all the princes, these rulers, and all the congregation, all the ones who was just standing there. 15. And the men that had been mentioned by name rose up and took the captives, and with the spoil clothed all that were naked among them, and arrayed them, and shod them, and gave them to eat and to drink, and anointed them, and carried all the feeble of them upon asses, and brought them to Jericho, the city of palm trees, unto their brethren. Then they returned to Samaria. And these ones that we had mentioned by name, these men, these ones, mighty ones that God had sent, rose up, and they took the captives, these ones that had been carried off from Judah, and with the spoil, with that which they had gathered and stolen and taken. See, they clothed all that was naked, all of them that had been stripped down and left bare among them, and they arrayed them, and give them garments, and they shod them, and that is they placed shoes upon their feet, and a shoe is a similitude. It's a man-made object to protect the foot, and that is that path that goes by, that you go by. And they gave them to eat, nourished them, and they drank that which is of understanding, and anointed them, that which is to bless them and to pour out on them, and they carried all the feeble of them upon asses. And the asses, these that are feeble, weak, can't go, they carry upon these asses, and these asses are that which, an ass carries a burden, and that burden, we'll find out, would be the feeble and the weak, and also the rulers, because they also, God make them feeble and weak, and they brought them to Jericho. Jericho means the moon. It's that city that they destroyed when they come across the river. That was the first city they destroyed. God made an example of Jericho. They destroyed Jericho. They knocked the walls down with a great shout, and they went in, every man before him. And God said, don't take nothing. Don't take nothing. All this is devoted unto God. It's for a reason. It has understanding. See, it has a purpose. It's set aside. It's devoted. But Achan took something from there, and that was the troubler. That's kind of how it all got started. This devoted thing, that which represented the understanding from the past. See, that because Jericho was that city of palm trees, and that palm tree is that correct teaching. It's that understanding that God had given even in the beginning from a long time ago. And God said, you shall not rebuild the city of Jericho. But we'll find out they did. And that would be a trespass even against God and his law. 16. At that time did King Achaz send unto the kings of Assyria to help him. And Achaz, that's those that were seized, sent unto the kings of Assyria. And that's those of the Asher, that step up, that step forward. It's progress, they call it. And we'll find out they ain't going to be able to help them anyway. 17. For again the Edomites had come and smitten Judah and carried away captives. These Edomites, those shed blood in the flesh, those that they come against, they have smitten Judah. We'll find out. Again, that place of praisings, and they carry away captives. God's showing his judgment. God's bringing all these against them. 18. The Philistines also had invaded the cities of the lowland and the south of Judah, and had taken Bethshemesh and Ajalon and Gederoth and Shoko with the towns thereof, and Timnah with the towns thereof, and Gimzo also and the towns thereof, and they dwelt there. And the Philistines, that's those drifters, those wanderers. They invaded the cities of the lowland. Well, that's where they live. The lowland, down there in the bottoms, see, in that place of the flesh. And the south, that dry land, even that parched place of Judah, that place of praising, that place God made an example of a long time ago, see. And they taken Beth Shemesh, that's that house of that sun image they made, that image they'd set up there, let them have it. And Ajalon and Gederoth. Ajalon, that field of the buck, that field of the roe, that one that stands alone about, the Gederoth, that in the wall, and that those that are walled, they're walled off. They're walled in. And Shoko, fenced, hedged up. That's what Shoko means. They're fenced, hedged up. God's got them closed in right there. See, and the towns thereof, and Timnah. That's that part, that's that portion. See, that's that part of that portion right there where God's got them closed up. In the towns thereof. Gimzo. These fig trees, even these, this is fig trees, or it's fertile fruit, and there's much fruit, it's much fertility, there's much understanding there that God's got closed up. He got closed off, see, and understanding, he got it locked up. 19, for the Lord brought Judah low because of Achaz, king of Israel, for he had cast away restraint in Judah and acted treacherously against the Lord. For the Lord, he brought Judah low. God did it. See, God done that. Because of Achaz, the king of Israel. This one he had seized, what he had done. God was making an example of Achaz, king of Israel. Achaz was king of Judah. See? But those that contend with the mighty one, they're all one people, after all. For he had cast away restraint in Judah. He had thrown it away, and we'll find out what Achaz did. He acted treacherously against the Lord, and he did act treacherously. Anytime you trespass against God, it is to act treacherously if you have knowledge and understanding. See, if you do not, then you must acquire it so you can have understanding, knowledge, and not trespass against God. Because when we trespass against God, there's an automatic punishment. We fall on one side or the other. 20. And Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, came unto him and distressed him, but strengthened him not. And Tiglath-Pileser, this Tiglath, he is this one who uncovers this wonderful bond. He's the king of Assyria, and that Molech of that Asher. He is the one that makes it known. Makes it known where we can understand this beautiful bond. But he doesn't strengthen him. He offers him no support. 21. For Achaz stripped the house of the Lord, and the house of the king, and the princes, and gave thereof unto the king of Assyria. But it helped him not. And he strips the house of God, takes all the gold, and all the jewels, and anything of wealth. See, because that's all they're ever looking for. And the king's house as well, and all the princes. He strips everybody of their wealth. And we'll find out. He gives it over to the king of Assyria. Those of the Asher, that altar, the alternative altar, I like to call it. 22. And in the time of his distress did he act even more treacherously against the Lord, the same King Achaz. And when God distressed him, he even did more treacherously. He didn't try to turn to God and say, why are you punishing me, Lord? Why? But he did more treacherously. He just got worse, and because he was probably enjoying himself. 23, for he sacrificed unto the gods of Damascus, which smote him. And he said, because the gods of kings of Edom helped them, therefore will I sacrifice to them, that they may help me. But they were the ruin of him and all of Israel, and of all Israel. And he sacrificed unto these naughty gods, these things that God had given all the other nations to rule over them, these gods of Damascus. Remember, that's where the sackcloth weaver's working silently. He's weaving those garments of mourning, those garments of lamentation. And that's why, for all these that go into these other gods, these not a gods, which smote him. And he said, because the gods of the kings of Aram helped them, these not a gods of the kings of Aram, they didn't. See, God did. God brought them against them. It was all the work of God. These not a gods hadn't done nothing. That was something man had made, something man had whittled up, some image they had made to rule over. And these kings of Aram, those exalted ones, even from that time before, see, these ones that live exaltedly, these were the kings of the time before. They helped. And there, and he said, because they helped them, they will help me. But these not of gods ain't going to do nothing for you. These imaginations of men. That's what an image is an imagination of men. But they were to the ruin of him and all Israel and all Judah. That's what we refer to here as Israel, all the nations, all of them together. For that's what they had did, and they had turned astray from God. 24. And Achaz gathered together the vessels of the house of God, and cut in pieces the vessels of the house of God, and shut up the doors of the house of the Lord. And he made him altars in every corner of Jerusalem. And Achaz, this seized, and this one taken hold of, this one it's grasped. And what he's grasped a hold of, we'll find out, is this great burden, this great load, this trouble he's going to bring upon all the house of the nation of Israel. And he cuts into pieces all these things that belong to God. He don't understand what's in these vessels, these things that contain in the house of God. He shuts the doors. Nobody can go in or out of the house of the Lord. And he made him altars in every corner of Jerusalem. He made him alternative places to worship, alternative places to slay. That's what an altar is. And there they would make their sacrifices and offer their things to their not gods in every corner of Jerusalem. That's every place where they turn in that city of peaceful teachings, 25. In every city of Judah he made high places to offer unto these other gods, and provoke the Lord, the God of his fathers. In every city, all these places have protection, the place of praisings. He made these high places, these places where they go up to. They think they get closer to God there. That ain't where you're going to get closer to God, in these high places, to offer unto these other gods. You have no understanding. God said, you shall not do that. And they provoked the Lord, the God of their fathers, because God said, you can't do that. 26. Now the rest of his acts and all his ways, first and last, behold, they're written in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel. And the rest of his acts, his deeds, what he done, the example God made of him, all his ways, first and last, from beginning to the end. Behold, they're written there in the book of the kings of Judah and Israel. They're in the book that we can witness, we can read it, we can see these things. God did that. They were the kings of Judah and Israel. These were the Molechs over Judah and Israel. This one who God put over them. They had turned from the law of God and the understanding God wanted them to have in the beginning. 27. Nachas slept with his fathers, and they buried him in the city, even in Jerusalem. For they brought him not into the sepulchres of the kings of Israel, and Hezekiah his son reigned in his stead. And Achaz sleeps with his fathers. Is one, the seized one, this grasped one, this one that got a hold of that. We'll find out that that's going to be carried. It's a burden. And they bury him in the city, in that place that has that garden. Even in Jerusalem, that city of peaceful teachings. But they didn't bring him into the sepulchres of the kings of Israel, this place where the kings of Israel. See, there was a separation there, and we can see that. And where they bury the good guys in the sepulchre, see, and the bad guys, these kings that don't do according to the law of God and the understanding of God, they bury them out there in the field, in the open places around. See, now, they make a separation even in the death. And Hezekiah, his son, reigns in his stead. Hezekiah, these strengths of God, this strengthened. It means to be strengthened of God. And we'll find out God is going to make, he's trying to, everything he can, to reach the king, to make the king understand, hey, you're outside our agreement. We're going to move forward, chapter 29. Turn and return.